Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, September 10th. I'm student meteorologist Erin Clanahan.
And I'm student meteorologist Jessie Smith.
And today is actually the peak day of hurricane season, but it has been a very inactive season.
It has. We have only had 7 named storms so far this season. They actually predicted more this year. They predicted normal, more than normal actually, for this season, but we actually haven't had a hurricane yet.
No, we haven't, but we do have 2 named tropical storms right now in the Atlantic Basin. We have Tropical Storm Umberto, and we also have Tropical Storm Gabrielle that was actually formed about a week ago, but has re-strengthened back to tropical storm status. But it's still looking like we could be on track to actually have the quietest season ever.
And that's right. And going back to 1851, there's only been 17 years when the first hurricane formed after September 4th. And the all-time record was in 1905 when the first hurricane didn't form until October 8th. So we still have about 2 weeks to go before we break that record, but maybe we'll have to see if Humberto actually does form into a hurricane.
I mean, actually, as of right now, the National Hurricane Center is predicting that it will likely strengthen due to warm sea surface temperatures, low wind shear, and also a very moist atmosphere around it within the next couple of days. So it's looking like it could potentially strengthen into hurricane status.
But now for an overview, let's send it on out to the wall with Shelly.
Thank you, guys. Good evening, Tallahassee. Let's take a look at weather headlines. The tropics are heating up right now. With that high around us, we'll see more sunshine, more dry weather, and more beautiful weather. So get out there if you haven't been out there because the rain will be back for the weekend. We see there's a lot of rain going on the west coast of the U.S. right now, along with Texas. But don't worry, that will move out, and you will see clearer weather coming in very soon. Closer to home, it's very dry right now. There's a little bit of rain around us. With that high, we're going to stay dry, but the low will start to move in, and we will be seeing that rain this weekend. Also, the rain will continue to stay here for the weekend, but let's take a look at tonight's forecast. It's going to be a very cool 69 in Tallahassee, very cool around the whole south of the U.S., and let's take it back to Jessie and Erin.
Thank you, Shelly. Right now, we are going to talk about a big weather changer that's actually going to be affecting everyone from Chicago to the Northeast, and it's finally looking like it's going to feel a little bit more like fall out there.
Yeah, we're actually going to be seeing an autumn preview, and it's going to arrive just in time for fall football season to start. High school football's already started. The Seminoles played this past Monday, and then the pro season started this past Sunday, so it's actually going to start feeling like fall weather just in time for football season.
You know, yes, for those in the Northeast, of course. Here,
Right.
Don't think that Saturday on game day it's going to feel like fall, because we're still going to be most likely in the 90s for Saturday, but it does show that we are starting to slowly transition into more of a fall-like pattern.
And for Saturday, for our first home opener against Nevada, make sure you prepare for the heat, bring your sunglasses, sunscreen. Definitely going to want to wear shorts because it will be a scorcher come Saturday afternoon. I believe kickoff is at 3:30,
Yeah,
so we're ready to see our Seminoles. So let's send it on out to Tyler with an overview of what's going on in Tallahassee.
Yes, thank you so much, ladies. And we are excited for that game on Saturday. And for now, the weather is pretty clear. We'd be really happy if it stayed that way for the game right on Saturday. But you can see a little bit more unsettled across the Florida Peninsula thanks to this Tutlow. It's a tropical upper tropospheric trough. Just a fancy word for an upper level low that's spinning off the east coast of Florida, shifting this way, or at least toward the west. Going to give them some rain for the next couple of days, but we'll be on the dry side, and so that means we'll see, well, mostly dry conditions. Now, temperatures today were pretty hot. 92 was the high temperature. Nice start this morning, though, 70 degrees. And currently, we're at 91 with nice clear skies. The dew point is at 64, so it's not terribly humid out there at this hour. The wind was a bit of a story today. It was breezy at times, 10 to 20 miles an hour, and now not quite as breezy, but you can see coming in from the north and east. That didn't cut the slack with the temperatures, though. It was still blazing hot out there. 91 in Tallahassee right now, 90 in Thomasville, 95, the hot spot as usual in Bainbridge, and the sea breeze is really strong along the coast, so they're cooling off quite a bit at this hour. But again, with the humidity, it feels that much worse. It's 103 degrees is the real field temperature in Bainbridge, and in the 90s elsewhere. So there's still quite a bit of humidity in the atmosphere. And as we take a look at around the southeast, we do have some scattered showers and storms around this upper level low pressure system, again kind of moving into the Florida Peninsula, keeping them unsettled today. But once again, we're kind of on the dry side of that, so we only have a small chance of rain for the next couple of days. Just a few clouds are in the picture for tonight with that easterly flow, and temperatures will be pleasant once again around 70 degrees and maybe even a few upper 60s once again on your let's see, we're already to Wednesday morning. 69 in Tallahassee tomorrow, 73 in St. Mark's to start off the day. And in the afternoon, low 90s once again. A dry air mass heats up a little bit quicker than if we have lots of humidity. So low 90s are once again going to be commonplace around the region tomorrow. If you're taking the boat out on the Wednesday, easterly winds 5 to 10 knots, so not quite as breezy. Waves 2, maybe 4 feet, still a little bit of a delay from all the wind that we saw today. And here's your 7-day forecast. Notice how we do have, well, temperatures in the low range of the 90s through the period. And we're going to see about a 20 to 30% chance of rain, a little higher perhaps through the weekend due to an approaching cold front as it works its way into our area. But we're going to take a look at the southeast now. Ryan, we all have family and friends in the southeast. Tell us what it's looking like.
We do, and for any family that doesn't live in the southeast, today they would probably think of the weather here in the south as maybe oppressive, hot, humid. Well, I got news for you. All you southerners out there know that today felt just a little bit different, and oh, ever so slightly, we're surely beginning to see signs of fall get into the area. And the first sign on the satellite radar is this dry slot in the southeast where we don't have any rain this time of day. We would normally be seeing pop-up showers and thunderstorms, but as we get into September, we're beginning to see things lighten up a little bit, a change in the pattern. Across the southeast, big ridge of high pressure in place over the Carolinas, Georgia, stretching down into the Florida Panhandle. On the opposite side of this ridge of high pressure, we've got return flow off the Gulf of Mexico, so sparking showers and thunderstorms along the Mississippi River Valley. And then, as Tyler pointed out, off the Florida coast, we've got this upper level low spinning off here. It's going to stay offshore for the most part, but could spark some showers and thunderstorms along the Florida coast. Hey, it is still September, so it is warm here in the south. We've got temperatures mainly in the 90s and 80s. 91 degrees in the capital city of Florida in Tallahassee right now. 87 for you, the capital of Atlanta, Georgia, capital of Georgia. 91 in the capital of Alabama, Montgomery. 86 in Tupelo. 96 the hot spot in Little Rock. So you can definitely see the warmer temperatures on the west side of that high stretching across the south. Current dew points, it is still rather humid outside. We've got dew points in the 60s and 70s, so a couple low spots. It feels probably pretty good in Atlanta at 64 degrees for your dew point. Same in Tallahassee. It has felt really nice all day, slightly drier. You could just feel it with all that sunshine, not quite as oppressive. On the water vapor, we can see this big area of gray. It's kind of drier in comparison to areas across Louisiana and Texas where you've got moisture coming off the Gulf of Mexico. And then over the Atlantic, you can see this low spinning off the coast here. That is where the moisture is concentrated, and it is kind of actually helping to funnel some of this dry air down into the Florida Panhandle and the Tallahassee area. Across the southeast, we can expect that ridge to stay in place, the flow out of the east, so things are going to stay pretty nice, pretty sunny over the next couple days. Temps are going to stay warm, but again, not a whole lot of movement in place for us, so forecast staying pretty constant over the next couple days. Tonight's forecast, mainly we could see a few 60s, so a nice welcome change with the dry air. 69 degrees in Tallahassee, Atlanta 68 in Montgomery. A few places to the south, Florida Peninsula mainly staying in the 70s. Tomorrow's forecast for you, another warm one. Temperatures in the 90s and 80s across most of the south. 91 Tallahassee, 88 degrees in Atlanta. Aaron and Jesse, back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Ryan. We are certainly enjoying the beautiful weather, but we could be wishing for those fall temperatures, and we're going to go back to talking about that cold front that will be affecting the upper Midwest and the Northeast. Some areas, when this cold front does pass, could be dropping down to freezing levels. We could get a little bit of frost out there, and even some areas could drop 40 degrees below where they were once that cold front does pass, maybe even up to 60 degrees below. So it's a very strong and powerful cold front that unfortunately won't be making it here.
And of course, associated with the cold front, there's always that chance for severe thunderstorms that travel just ahead of the front. So that's something that the upper Midwest may be concerned with for the next couple of days. And then this is also the coolest air that we've seen this season, so I know a lot of my friends that live up that way are definitely complimenting these cooler temperatures. But right now we're going to send it over to Brooke.
You can get a really good view of that high pressure, though. It's in the center of our nation. That's why we're seeing a lot of sun out there here in Tallahassee. We haven't had some sun in a while, but now it's just a lot of that in our area. So you can get a really good view of what's going on in our nation as we let that play for a little bit right there. Let's get into some real stuff, though. Numbers. Current conditions in Dallas, 94 degrees. They still have that cloud coverage on over them. A lot of cloud coverage over down in San Antonio as well. We have a little cool spot that's over in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's because of that rain they're getting from that low pressure system on over them. And that system's just going to draw in a lot more moisture and also bring in a lot heavier rain throughout the evening. 80 degrees here in Salt Lake City. So towards the mountains is a little bit colder areas. This is the Rocky region. So there's a huge difference as you look to the west coast and over out by the east coast. You can see a lot more warmer areas and a lot drier air mass on over us. Miami's sitting at 83 degrees. You guys got a lot of rain earlier today, but let's take a look at the northeast. You can see that the system over from Canada is just making its way on through, bringing in a lot of rain to the New York area, and that's just going to clear on out as we move into the weekend. That little dip in the cold front's not really going to cause a huge difference, but it's going to cause some rain for today. And as we take another look at our Rocky area, again, a lot of rain is moving on through. This area doesn't see a lot of rain, especially during this time of the year, so this is special for them, bringing in a lot of moisture as well. But as we get into temperatures, and also there is no delays due to all that rain activity, but for temperatures, we do see a lot of drop in those temperatures for the evening, 76 for most parts in the Big Bend region. And as for tomorrow, temperatures are making their way back on up into the lower 90s and into the upper 90s over in Dallas. And speaking of all these warm temperatures, how are things looking over here, Jesse?
All right, thanks, Brooke. Well, as you mentioned, it is pretty warm around the Tallahassee region. As we take a look at today's almanac, today's high was brutal 92 degrees. However, it doesn't come anywhere close to the record set in 1954 of 98 degrees. Our low last night was 70 degrees, which these highs and lows are typical of what we're used to seeing at this time of the year. Our local radar, as you can see, nothing going on in the entire Big Bend region, and we actually don't see another chance of rain until going into your weekend, but we're definitely clear all across the Tallahassee region. Now, as we continue on to our current conditions, right now outside, if you'd step outside, it's 91 in Tallahassee, with the dew point sitting in at 64 degrees, which creates a 41% humidity, and we have a northeast wind coming in at about 6 miles per hour. Our current temperatures all across the region, 91 in Tallahassee, 90 up in Quincy, a little cooler spots along the coast in Carabel and Apalachicola, and our current dew points, 64 in Tallahassee, 66 in Quincy, a little bit higher up in Bainbridge, sitting in at 70, and then of course along the coast, 69 in Apalachicola and 72 in Carabel. Now if we look at our future cast, we can see this high pressure system sitting right over the Carolinas, and then these arrows here indicate our jet stream that is just moving right along the coastline. And if we put this into motion, we can see that going through tomorrow, going to be a lot of sunshine out there, guys. And so it's going to be sunny going into the rest of tomorrow, meaning no rain, so no need for those umbrellas tomorrow whatsoever. So our current winds, we're sitting in at 6 miles per hour in Tallahassee, and pretty much light winds all across the region. Moving on to tonight's forecast, it's going to be a comfortable 69 degrees, partly cloudy, with also that east wind at 5 miles per hour. And if we look over at tomorrow's forecast, basically a repeat of what we saw today, 92 degrees, and it's going to be mostly sunny tomorrow. There will be a slight breeze, but it definitely will be a warm one, as we've been seeing so far this week. And we're actually going to be continued to see that for the rest of your work week. So taking a look at our 3-day planner, our day planner for tomorrow, it's going to be a comfy morning at 71 degrees. Come noon, there's going to be plenty of sunshine as it starts warming up to 82. And then tomorrow, about the time you get off work, it's going to be a really warm 90 degrees with a few scattered clouds in the region. So if we take a look at our 7-day forecast, as I mentioned, for tomorrow, going to be sitting in at 92 degrees for the next few days, and our next best chance for rain will be come around Sunday. We might have a little bit of a wet weekend, but that won't dampen any of your plans. Now let's send it back over to the desk with Brooke and Tyler.
Thanks. So now that we're exiting summer, we still have some tropical storms in our area. In the Atlantic Ocean, we have Tropical Storm Gabrielle that's just about to pick up speed and is expected to pass through Bermuda on Wednesday.
That's right. This storm formed last week, and as Aaron and Jesse mentioned earlier, as they were kind of recapping the season so far, it kind of faded out and then it regenerated, and it's heading for the island of Bermuda now.
Right, and that's like a really big tourist location, and they bring in a lot of money and a lot of people who want to check out the beaches.
Yeah, so certainly heavy rain, gusty winds. You know, the sustained winds are about 60 miles per hour for this system now. And you have a little interesting fact for us, right, Brooke?
Right. Well, did you know that no groundwater is in Bermuda? So every rain that they get, they collect it and they use it for the island for the future. That's interesting.
Wow. And I think they're not alone. I think some of the other islands, like in the Caribbean, like Jamaica, I believe, I've heard does that. Not confirmed fact, but I know they're not alone though. So that's certainly good recyclable water. So.
Very resourceful out there in Bermuda. I've never been to Bermuda.
I've never been to Bermuda, but I've seen lots of pristine images from there.
I've seen some really crazy movies too, like the Bermuda Triangle and getting lost out there.
All right, well, hopefully Troy will guide us back to Florida now and tell us what's going on weather-wise. Troy?
Alrighty, thank you guys. At the desk, you know, it's still September across for our season, but unfortunately, you wouldn't know it across the Florida region. Still summer, and you can tell by these temperatures. Very, very warm across the majority of the state. We're enjoying upper 80s to 90s, 91 degrees in the capital city, Tallahassee, 86 degrees in Orlando, slightly cooler around Miami, 83 degrees. So you know the story. Very, very, very warm and mild across much of the Sunshine State, which, by the way, they're also in sunshine. Very good in that. But now let's look at your dew point temperatures. And remember, dew point is a good indicator of how much moisture there is in an atmosphere, and that affects our humidity values. And as you know, along the northern coast of Florida, our dew points are a little bit in the lower side, 64 for your dew point in Tallahassee. So as you know, earlier in the week, especially in the last week, we had very, very humid conditions, but thanks to high pressure that is currently settled over the southeast, that is knocked down our humidity values just a little bit, but still in southern Florida, baking in the 70s, so still very, very, very humid in that part of the state. And as we look at your winds, and as I mentioned, we do have high pressure anchored the north of us, and that easterly flow is helping to usher in those wind flows across much of the state, and a little bit breezy, particularly on the east coast, which are seeing wind values in the teens. So for those of you going on the beach, just make sure you take it easy, especially if you're surfing. Watch out for rip currents, because those high winds, are a big problem when they come out of the east, and that will affect the rip currents. But in the meantime, we're going to take a look at your water vapor imagery, and you see this little critter just sitting off the east coast, spinning and spiraling towards the Florida east coast. That is the upper level low, and in fact, as we mentioned earlier, that's what Tyler did to it's called a tut. And basically what it is helps to bring our moisture, but fortunately, not a lot of moisture to work with that upper level low. Once more time as you look ahead at your satellite radar, get a little bit of showers and even thunderstorms associated with it, but not a lot of moisture to work with it. But those of you outside, just to keep in mind, have an umbrella in handy. Look at your futurecast radar. As I mentioned, we go out towards Tuesday, and Wednesday, the threat for showers will be in the horizon, so make sure you do have that umbrella for those of you that have any outdoor activities. Looking ahead at tonight's forecast, look, temperatures in the 70s, and a little bit, look at that, 69 degrees in Tallahassee, so a little bit cooler than we've been seeing in the past few days. As we look ahead at tomorrow's forecast, another hot but dry day across much of the Sunshine State. Now let's go to your tropics with Alex. And Alex, things are pretty heated up, aren't they?
Yes, it's going to be the first time during the entire hurricane season that we have more than one tropical cyclone out in the Atlantic. I'm going to get to that in just a bit. Right now, our two active ones are Umberto, and Gabrielle has made a return, a triumphant return, we should say. She has just reformed around near Bermuda and might strike them as a minimal tropical storm with around winds of 50 miles an hour. But hurricane climatology, what does this mean? This means the main areas where hurricanes form during the month of September. As you can see, this is a very big area of likelihood, I should say, for hurricane development. This is September. This is the peak, like Aaron had said earlier. And the biggest possible chances we usually have for formation are right around here in the eastern Atlantic, the western Atlantic, where the Gulf Stream is located, and the Gulf of Mexico. That's where the warmest and deepest waters are located. Right now, let's take a look at Tropical Storm Gabrielle, nearing Bermuda, the island of Bermuda, with winds at around 50 miles an hour. It had just reformed not too long ago. It was a remnant low, if you all remember, after impacting the Windward Islands. Now, if we put this into motion, you can see that it's going to actually strengthen, turn towards the eastern seaboard, but thankfully drift off away into the northern Atlantic as a strong tropical storm. This might even be a hurricane if favorable conditions persist. Winds right now gusting at around 69 miles an hour with the pressure at 1,004 millibars. Now let's take a look at another really big system we have off the west coast of Africa. This is in the eastern Atlantic. This is Tropical Storm Umberto with winds at 70 miles an hour, a much more broader range of circulation. You can see that it is trying to get its act together. There's maybe a little dry air entering from the north side, but it's still a very healthy system, probably our most healthy system we've had so far. And that is why we are predicting for this to, yes, become a hurricane, our first hurricane of the season. Winds right now only 4 miles per hour shy of becoming our first Category 1 system of the season. 993 millibars, the pressure is dropping, so that means that the hurricane is definitely intensifying. And right now it is located very far off in the Atlantic. And what it's going to do is take an unusual path from most hurricanes out this far. It's going to curve up north before it starts heading back to the west as a hurricane, and then weaken as it possibly encounters some dry air in the middle Atlantic as a 60-mile-per-hour storm. But this does not say that the tropical storm is going to die just yet. We still have a lot more room for this storm to grow and possibly grow stronger, but as of now, it is going to weaken into Sunday afternoon as a minimal tropical storm. Once again, that might be our first hurricane, moving a little slow at around 7 miles an hour, but in the meanwhile, it is going to be mainly pleasant for the area of Tallahassee, and that's good to hear. Anyways, Brooke, Tyler, how's it look at the desk?
The desk looks great.
Yeah, it looks good in here. We wish we were out there, right, in the sunshine. But let's go ahead and talk about hurricanes, since we are at the peak of hurricane season now. Still got a long way to go, but there have been some costliest hurricanes. In fact, we have a list of 10 for you. The first one, if we go backwards, number 10 is Hurricane Francis. Actually made landfall not far from where I'm from in Martin County down in southeast Florida, $9.5 billion.
Let's take it out to 2005, where we saw Hurricane Rita at $12 billion.
That same year, before Francis came through, Hurricane Charlie rolled on shore around Punta Gorda on the southwest coast.
Let's fast forward a couple years later to Irene in 2011. You can't forget that one. That hit the northeast.
That's right. Also in Florida, I guess I'm on the Florida track. Here, Ivan hit the Panhandle and portions of the Gulf Coast. $18.8 billion.
With $21.1 billion, we have Wilma coming in that 2005 in Florida as well.
Yeah, and to hear the other four, we'll tell you right after this local segment with Aaron.
Thank you, Brooke and Tyler. Today, I'm sure everyone noticed that beautiful weather when you did step outside. Don't get me wrong, it was still very hot out there, but with slightly lower dew points, it did feel quite nice compared to a lot of the weather that we were seeing over the summer. 92 degrees today, this afternoon, woke up to 70, so pretty average day for the middle of September. But that high pressure that we have in control really kept the atmosphere very dry. We didn't really see any shower activity at all, maybe an isolated shower or two right across Leon and Wakulla County, but it was dry and it was gorgeous, and it is going to be like that tomorrow as well. All thanks to high pressure right near North Carolina. That's keeping winds out of the east and bringing in a whole lot of dry air, and that really doesn't allow a lot of showers and storms to really build in the afternoon and get those thunderstorms that we are used to seeing every day in the summertime. Right now, it is still warm out there. We're still at 91 degrees at the airport, but that dew point, 64, that's a lot lower than what we were seeing last week. So it was noticeably drier, even though 64 degrees is still a little bit muggy, which is why I'm sure if you were outside you did notice the heat. The rest of the area right around 90 as well, 88 in Monticello as well as in Thomasville. Along the coastline we're at 88 in Carabel and 90 degrees in Quincy. So the heat is still here to stay at least for the next couple of days. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer in order to feel those fall-like temperatures. But here's why it did feel nicer today than some of the days that we saw last week. 64-degree dew point. Usually we're in the 70s, so 73 Monticello, slightly muggier there, and of course along the coastline where they do see a little bit more moisture, it's a little bit more humid as well. But here's what's going to be happening for the next few days. High pressure is really not going anywhere, which is a good thing. That means that beautiful weather is here to stay. Tonight, mostly clear skies, so get out there and look at the moon. There's also a great view of Venus and Saturn right near the moon. You'll be able to notice them. They are very bright. Winds are going to stay out of the east for tomorrow, and that is going to keep the sunshine in the picture and keep those rain showers at a very minimum. Here's what we can expect on our Futurecast radar for tonight and into tomorrow. Really not much action at all, maybe just a few showers along the east coast. For tonight, it's going to be comfortable outside if you're going outside, any outdoor plans. Even into tomorrow, those lower dew points will be there to stay. Partly cloudy skies, so you will be able to see that sunshine tomorrow. When you wake up, 71 degrees at 8 in the morning. It's going to be pretty comfortable, but those temperatures will be heating up quickly due to the clear skies. 82 already by noon, and then by 5 o'clock, 90 degrees with just a slight chance for possibly an isolated thunderstorm. So if you have the day off tomorrow, just want to head to the beach, it's going to be great. Winds out of the east, 15 knots, so slightly breezy, but it will feel really nice out there. The surf at 2 to 4 feet, that's a moderate trop, but very high UV index. I'm sure you noticed today that sunshine is strong, so bring the sunscreen. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, slightly breezy. That's going to be absolutely great. And another day up in the 90s. So the 90s are here to stay right on our 7-day forecast, but those lower rain chances stick around until the weekend. But it looks like we could see possibly a shower for the big game on Saturday. Brooke, Tyler, will you guys be going to that?
Yes, hopefully we will be out there. There's no hurricanes going this weekend. But speaking of hurricanes, Hurricane Andrew, in 1992, a lot of you guys weren't born at that time.
You remember?
I remember. I was alive, but
A few years old.
I was a couple years old out there.
In the closet. Hurricane Ike was the third costliest at $29.5 billion, affected Texas and portions of Louisiana.
And in 2012, Hurricane Sandy was $65 billion.
We can't forget that. And of course, can't forget Katrina in 2005. $108 billion knocks all the other storms out of the water, but of course, if you get one of those storms every year, you know it's not very good either. So that's just from a costly standpoint. And we still have to watch this hurricane season because, well, we still have a few months left.
We do, but let's just focus on the week ahead. We have a lot of sunshine in our area.
Yeah, lots of sunshine and only a 20% chance of rain. Can't go wrong with that. In September, kind of transitioning out of the summer pattern, 30 to 40% chance. For the game weekend, let's cross our fingers that it holds off.
All right, well, you can always follow us on Twitter or Facebook.
Watch us anytime on livestream.com/FSU Weather. So we thank you for making us a part of your night, and make sure you have a good one. I'm student meteorologist Tyler Allender.
Have a great night.